In this video, I'm going to get into some basic negotiating tactics when dealing with a motivated seller. So if you've got leads coming in, maybe you hand out some flyers around a project you're doing, or maybe you're doing some direct mail and generating leads that way, or bandit signs, whatever the case is. You get a call from a seller who wants to sell their property. You've screened them, you've done your homework to determine the value, all that kind of stuff. Now it's time to go out and meet them and make it an offer. Hopefully, you're going to walk out with a contract, okay? So first I want to go through some basics before we get into a little bit more detail here. So the basics, I almost forgot to bring these up, but they're really, really important. First and foremost, I cannot tell you how many times I've gone out to a property, sat down with sellers, spent a ton of time with them, negotiated, came to the end, made them an offer, put it in writing, and they just couldn't believe that I could come up with an offer right on the spot. They couldn't believe it. So rule number one, bring a contract, right? You're going to make an offer. That's the second basic. You're spending all this time to generate these leads. You go out and look at the property. You spend the time to go out there. You go out there and talk to the people. Make an offer. If you don't make an offer, they can't say yes, right? If you don't bring a contract, you can't lock down the deal right there and then, okay? So bring a contract, make an offer, and the third one, follow up. Follow up is a big deal. We got check, follow up here. Look, you're going to get an awful lot of no's. No is okay. A lot of times what I've seen is that I've gone out and made an offer on a property that the seller's asking $50,000. Well, my number's $25,000. I offer the $25,000. They shoot it down. No. Well, then a month later, they're reaching out. They're calling somebody else. They go out. And now they're asking, instead of, 60, now they're asking 50. Make an offer, 25,000, no. A month later, they're down to 40,000. And this goes on until 6 months later, I'm looking at the public records and I see this house that I made an offer of 25,000, sold for 25,000. Surprise, surprise. That's the right number. Well, if I'm constantly in front of them, constantly talking to them, guess what? They're going to call me when it's time, when they've come to the conclusion that 25,000 is the right number from their house. Okay, so you got to follow up. The money is in the follow-up. All right, so now all these things considered, let's jump to the top. So dealing with, negotiating with a seller, it's important to understand that there's a reason that they called you. There's a reason they took action and scheduled an appointment with you to see their house. They want to sell it. Great. Most of the time, they're not going to tell you why they want to sell it. So it's your job as you go in there to find out what their why is, to determine what it is that's motivating them to sell this house. Sometimes, hey, it's just that it's time to move. They're going to put it up for sale. They figure they get a cash offer. Great. More often, it's a lot more painful. That leads me right in here. And problems. Our job as real estate investors a lot of times starts by solving a seller's problem. I had an instance one time where I got a call from a woman whose uncle was in jail. And he needed bail money to get out. And he needed it 2 weeks from the date of the call. And the only way that she could figure out how to generate that income and get that money for bail was to sell one of the properties. Well, look, that's high motivation. Wonderful. It gives me a way that I can help her out and get that bail money for her. And it becomes a win-win situation. She had a definitive dollar amount that she needed to bail out the uncle. And so I knew exactly what I had to pay for that property walking in the door. Okay? So if you can solve the problem, there's a ton of profits in the deal. Most wholesalers, most investors are going to walk in a property and, it's going to be a discussion about the price of the sale. Well, guess what? Most of these people they're just negotiating on price. And especially in a market like this, that's a losing conversation. We're talking about dollars instead of what is it that's really causing this motivation. I had another situation where we had a seller that really had no money, inherited a house that was going into foreclosure, had 3 boys that she had to support, part-time job. Well, she had a bunch of offers on the house. I was the only one that helped her move. I was the only one that was able to find an apartment for her that would accept the move-in funds from the proceeds from the sale. I was the only one that took the time to listen to her and find out what the real problem was And she accepted our offer, and it was $20,000 less than other offers that were on the table. Well, the reason was I solved her problem. All right, so look for that. Solving problems and creating value. The value I created for this seller was giving her the opportunity and the cash that she needed to move on with her life, as opposed to just throwing a dollar amount in front of her. Because the road to get to those dollars was nearly impossible to go through. The condition of the house would not allow a conventional buyer to purchase the house. So that eliminates 95% of the market. Of the 5% that were left, nobody was willing to work with her to find an apartment, to give her some money to move, to work out the moving expenses, all that kind of stuff. By solving that problem, I created value in the transaction that was greater than the financials. Okay? This all comes down to one basic. Listen. More sales are made by listening to your seller. More deals are done by listening to the seller and hearing what they have to say. Not just the words they're using, but the things that they're trying to hide. I mean, let's face it. You look at social media and everybody we know is driving, a $1 million car, living in a huge house, and their life is perfect. But in reality, we all have issues that pop up in our life. People don't like to outwardly come out and just tell everybody about those things, right? So you have to sit there and listen. You have to sit there and build a relationship with the person before you start talking numbers and before you start trying to solve a problem that may or may not be there, okay? So when you're going into a negotiation, make sure you have the basics, right? Bring a contract, make sure you're making an offer, follow up. From there, when you get in the house, make sure you start by identifying the why of why they contacted you, what they're trying to accomplish from the sale, what the problem is that you can solve. Look for ways to solve their problem that don't necessarily involve finances, right? Constructing the deal in such a way that they get what they want from the sale while you can still get it at the price that you need it. And at the end of the day, opening up those ears and making sure you're listening to the seller will have a huge impact on your ability to construct an offer that makes sense for everybody involved. That's it. It's not brain surgery, but hopefully you can take some of these nuggets and put them into play in your business and make more money. All right. So that's it for today. Short and sweet video. I appreciate you for joining me for today. And until our next video, I want to wish you the best of luck in your real estate investing. Thanks so much. Have a great day.